Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo! Welcome to the channel, everybody, and happy 3-year anniversary to Star Trek Fleet Command. The day this video is coming out is the anniversary for when this game officially launched on the App Store and the Google Play Store. Now we can play it on PC and emulators and everything else, but back in the day, it was very different. We'll do like a rewind video some other time, but today I want to continue on the series that I've not done in a year and a half. I look back and I was like, wow, July 2020 is when we covered this the last time, where we went over the top warships from level 30 through 39. So I would say it's beyond due to go ahead and do it now. Now this isn't a warship, this is my Antares mining, but we're going to talk about the warships from level 40 to 49. Yeah, 50 through 59 will have its own video. And what are the best warships, the top 10 for that range? Now, this is my opinion, but also having a very nice discussion and heated. Shout out Lost and Found. Love you, baby. But also talking with other people like Gregor, other content creators, and coming together with this list of a top 10. And we're going to start with the big one, the bad one, the number 10. Yes, 10 is the ISS Jellyfish. It's pretty bad, I guess, to be putting the ISS Jellyfish this low, but it's mostly a PvE grinder, or maybe for armadas. But when we're talking warships, we're generally thinking PvP, the things that you're going to be using in territory capture or just floating around. This thing can take out miners, great. And if that's your thing, well, then cool. But the ISS Jelly in general is not a good PvP ship. And y'all have seen so many different screenshots that we've talked about in battle logs and videos of things like Enterprises beating Jellyfishes that are twice their power. And while I say power doesn't matter, this ship is a great example of why it doesn't. When you see a 4 million Enterprise or a 3 million Enterprise kill a 7-8 million Jellyfish, you go, wow, why would you invest so much into this? Now, the ISS Jellyfish does have an insane amount of value still. You've got the ISS Jelly Brawl event. You've also got Parabellum at level 39. This is a fantastic ship for you to have, and it goes really, really well in terms of PvE grinding into the 40s. But that's really the limitation of its value. That's it. After that, it's kind of out of here, and you really kind of lose all that love and effectiveness. So from a warship perspective, it simply is a little bit lackluster, even though it's still a good ship. But we're going to move on to number 9 right now. Bam! Big old number 9. Where's my thumb? There's the thumb. Cool. Number 9, we're going to go to the Auger. The Auger has gotten a even better boost than it was before, because at one point we were really looking at crewing this thing and struggling to crew it consistently because Nero simply did not allow it to use that obliterator weapon every time it was going to fire. And now that you have Giorgio and Nero that can do that, it's gone up a little bit. One of the biggest issues that you're going to find, and a theme in this video, is that battleships are simply slow, making them very difficult to be used effectively in PvP. Now, for armadas, I absolutely love the Auger, and I think that it can go into the 40s using it as an armada boat still, even as a hostile grinder, still very good. Throw on Pipe Monroe Chin or Picard Beverly Chin as a low 40s player and go play in Tygo Core or any deep space that you want to go to, because it has the warp range to get there. But at the end of the day, as a PvP ship, it's going to have a little bit of a struggle there, simply because that speed is such a problem. And for reference, I'm going to knock it down real quick. Look at the speed, 85. Now, if you're curious, same one with the ISS Jelly. Explorers typically have more speed, like the Enterprise here that we'll talk about in a bit, with 100. But the ISS Jelly, another reason it's so low, that low speed. So number 9 is the Auger. Still could be very effective. Once again, we've done a few different videos of how you can crew that thing out, and we'll cover that probably again here soon, since we've had new officers and everything coming out of what you can do. For example, you know, running Nero, DJ Aoki, and Honor Guard Worf. Lots of damage with some good mitigation defense. Several things that you can do. Let's talk about our next one here, moving on to number 8. Number 8 on our list is going to be the Kelvin. And this is going to be disappointing to a lot of people, I know. But the truth is, the Kelvin is a glass cannon, and it doesn't have the best firing pattern of all the ships out there. That doesn't mean it's necessarily bad or terrible, but if we're going off what you actually want to have in terms of value, the Katenga, which we'll talk about in a second, has a much better firing pattern than the Kelvin does. And the Kelvin has the same problem as the Discovery, where it's mostly shield, very little hull. It doesn't have a lot of hull compared to its counterparts. And you'll see D4s killing this thing. You'll see Enterprises killing this thing crewed out. And because of how it's set up, and honestly, all the uncommons in 4-star feel a bit underwhelming, which is the antithesis of what you expected or experienced in the 20s. Because when you got the uncommon, faction ships at the very beginning, the Saladin as an interceptor was just amazingly good. And maybe that's why some of this expectation is low, because you expect a Saladin level performance. It even looks like the Saladin, but it's not near as good as the Saladin. The Kelvin, still as a 4-star warship, as you tier it up, getting it to say tier 6, tier 7, it's going to start overpowering things with brute force, but that doesn't necessarily make it good. In terms of being a warship, it's pretty lackluster, and to the point that it is more lackluster, in my opinion, and you feel free to disagree, than the D4. The D4 is coming in at number 7. Number 7, we get the D4, and the reason is, not only are you getting a massive speed boost, 115 impulse. Yes, the yes, the Kelvin will have speed because it is an interceptor. That's usually one of their common traits. But the thing that you get the D4 is it's, in terms of specific crew loadouts, it is one of the best ships in the game. The firing pattern is so easy to manipulate and predictable, and we've talked about this before. The Enterprise, the nemesis for so many people in the 30s, this thing can take it on and beat it. And the reason is because its firing pattern is set up to a way that it's one weapon firing twice. So the Enterprise shield regeneration ability only gets activated once per round. And with the amount of damage that you can create with this thing, Gorkon, Kurla, Honor Guard Worf, Lorca, Killy, Honor Guard Worf, Lorca, Killy, Marcus, the varying ways that you can load this out. We've talked before. It was like, hey, if you have an Auger needing to go against an Enterprise, load up, hey, Marcus, then Merrick, and then Krell. Go full anti-Federation. The D4 doesn't need to go to that level. It can still be specific, but still have some generic in it. And that's why Lorca Killy is so popular from the 40s, the 30s, and even into the 50s, because you're getting damage reduction as well as mitigation boost for yourself. And then you can combine that with a lot of other creative stuff, like the Honor Guard Worf giving you criticals. Because remember, critical, get that magnification right there in terms of damage, and then hull breach magnifying on top of critical again. Whew, a lot can be done with the D4. It's fast, it's vibrant, it's beautiful, it's Klingon. And you've got to give love and respect to the Klingons because they are freaking good in this game. They are, contrary to what people say they're good. And that's why it's number 7. And speaking of Klingons, we're going to move on to another one. D4, my number 7 ship, warship in the 40s. Battleship, though, time. We're going to number 6. And we're going to the Bortus's big brother, the Katenga. Now, the Katenga is better than the Kelvin, in my opinion, mainly because the firing pattern is superior. One of the drawbacks to the Katenga is going to be the fact that it is slow. Impulse speed, slower than even the Auger at 72. It is a lumbering behemoth. It has a nice amount of hull health, grows pretty well, and a good base cracker in terms of what it's meant to do. But one of the biggest drawbacks, it's slow. It's very slow, but it packs a hell of a punch, and that's good. An early warp range, obviously exceeding that of the epics for the 3-star ships, but still value, you're getting a decent amount. It's right in that middle range for me. If I was to pick a ship, I'm going Katenga over Kelvin, and then I'm also going to focus a little bit more on Romulan, which you're going to notice that theme coming up as you'll see in a second. But I really do love this ship. I think that it has a lot of value. I think even No One Shall went and picked one up, and we'll throw some video up on the screen a little bit, and you'll see some logs for the Katenga. Sadly, I think it's the most underused of the 4-star. A lot of people do like I do and go after the Valdor, simply because it's easy to get the Valdor based on the events that we talked about with the ISS Jelly, and then everybody goes Federation and ends up with the Kelvin. But the Katenga is the unsung hero of a lot of the 4-star. Let's move on. Speaking of 4-star, we're moving on to now number 5. We were in the midway point of this video, number 5. Now, this is going to be surprising for a lot of y'all, but number 5 to me is the Valdor. Instead of it being, there's a ship y'all haven't heard yet. I can't wait to see the comments in this video. But the Valdor is the number 5 for me. And mainly because not it's the best in terms of pure warfare and pure destruction. Impulse, not necessarily that fast. Interceptor's going to have the advantage there. But the thing with the Valdor is the game has set you up to get this and get it to a higher tier than any other early 4-star ship. And if you do not max out your ISS Jelly, I mean, my ISS is, I think, at tier 5. I only use the upgrading portion of the ISS to complete events. If you start saving all that uncommon gas and all those ship parts and dump them into Valdor, you can upgrade this way faster than a Katenga and a Kelvin, thus making it simply stronger. You can get this to tier 6, tier 7 relatively quickly, and now you're looking at having a ship that can go toe-to-toe against almost anything in the 40s and anything in the 30s, simply because you're able to upgrade it fast. It benefits from the design of the game right now. Now, when you watch this video later, that might change. You know, watching some of the old top 10 videos for warships, noticing things like, hey, the D4 was not much loved back in the day. And I was talking with Gregor, if you're, 2019, Explorers seemed to be the weakest, with the exception of the Enterprise. 2020, then it seemed like, hey, Interceptors were the weakest ships in the game, and then new officers and new research came out, and now in 2021, it feels like battleships are the kind of the underdogs, with the exception of the Tribune, which we'll talk about in another video. So Valdor, number 5 in my video. I'm gonna go to number 4 though. We're gonna move it on. Number 4, my opinion, the best warship, 3-star, hands down. Now still in the top 4 for the top warships in the 40s is your Enterprise. Now here's the great thing about the Enterprise. Because of its special ability as a ship, you have so many people able to use this as not only a grinder. There are plenty of level 50 whales and players above that will use this in combination with Pilums to go out and rep grind. I think it was, was it War that I was talking to, or Warp Mazer, who I think they said they used 3 Enterprises when they were going through their grinding session. Its ship ability makes it so useful. It gives it a lot more survivability. It's that proverbial 4th officer we always talk about. So what this thing can do out in the field is tremendous. And then when you get into level 45, 46 range, you start seeing these Enterprises be 6 million, 7 million power. I mean, this can take on, mine at 5 million can take on a low tier Valdor right now with crew setups and win. It simply has a great amount of success due to the fact that the ship ability is truly overpowered. Thus, even in the 40s, it's very useful for you. The D4 still useful, but this thing will freaking keep going and keep going to the point where until you get to the epic ships and the rare ships in 40 range, well, on 50 range, then this thing is still king, queen of the castle. Love it, and it is still beautiful, by the way, with that TOS skin. Love the get rid of the stupid trails. Those bug the fire out of me. Not that y'all would know that, because I've never mentioned it before. So moving on to number 3. Now this is where we simply have to give love to overwhelming power, and that is the Newton. Now you are going to notice slow impulse speed of 72. It is a lumbering behemoth, but y'all have seen it crack my base before, because it can get up to that 18-20 million power range. And you get to a point in the 40s where pure brute strength simply starts to win over. And that's the case with the Newton. Even though it's a battleship, the firing pattern is much better than the Intrepid. It's kind of the opposite problem the Kelvin has. The Kelvin you expect, because it has those kinetics, to be just like the Saladin. But the truth is a Katenga can kill a Kelvin in round 1 because firing pattern. This firing pattern is much better than the Intrepid. The same thing that makes the Intrepid weak in the 30s helps out the Newton here in the 40s, so it gives you a little bit more value. I'm definitely not going to rank the Newton under an Enterprise or a Valdor or a Katenga. So it is strong. It is really good. People might debate that they would have this higher than the Corsair, but personally, I'm going to give a little bit more love to the speed boost that you get with running an Explorer versus an Interceptor, because we're talking about warships. That means PvP combat. Now, in terms of grinding, most of these ships are all semi-equally effective, and this battleship is definitely really good for your rep grinding going into that 1 billion lock or going in even further. It's not the best, and we'll talk about the best, which I think is kind of like a universal. There's no debate what the number 1 in this video is. If you don't know what it is, say right now, because we were like, what, 14 minutes in this video. Say right now, hey, I don't know what it is. I got to know. Tell me, Rev, what's the top warship? Well, wait 2 more and you'll find out, because this is number 3. Not a bad ranking, still effective. Impulse speed, like I said, that's the biggest drawback for lots of the battleships. There are some good researches that have made these things stronger, but still, it also lacks a special ability that makes it get that extra oomph. And that's going to be a common theme for a lot of some of the bigger ships, where the Enterprise is OP in its ship ability, and then you'll see these rares have hostile loot. So let's go ahead and talk about number 2, the Coronar. Now, this is a Burrell with a bunch of armor thrown on it, but that's okay because it is faster than what we were talking about with the Newton. Also extremely good, in my opinion, as a Klingon ship. We've seen Coronars be able to take on the Enterprise A before the Enterprise A got its update, which is a level 50 epic ship. I think the Coronar is able to produce and do anything that you needed to do from a gameplay perspective. Like, if you want to go Klingons, you are not going to hurt at all by ending up with a Coronar instead of, say, a Newton. Now, the Coronar does have one disadvantage. Literally the one disadvantage of the Coronar. The only negative about the Coronar, it's not the Pilum. That's kind of the one negative about the Coronar. You can load it out with a variety of crews. I feel like it has a great balance in hull health to shield health, even as an explorer. And I feel like it has really good DPS, especially as it tiered up. I've had lots of love for this ship, and not just because I'm a favorite or I favor Klingons, just the fact that I've seen so much success with it from my higher level players, and even those that have attacked me with it. The ability of Klingons to be loaded out in a multitude of ways has a lot of value, and now that you have cloaking with these type of ships, now granted, you know, we're a long way away from free-to-play getting this in your faction store. But now that you have this added element into the game, whereas the Newton won't be a cloaking ship, Coronar will be cloaking, that also gives it a little bit more value, as the game has added more mechanics to make some of these ships have better value. That's one of the other reasons that you look at the D4 having value over something like a Kelvin, because they can have that little bit extra boost in PvP that the Kelvin simply cannot do. And I'm still a very strong proponent that the Kelvin and all the other Federation ships do not need cloaking. Let everybody else have something for once. They've got everything as it is. Now let's move on to the number 1 ship, and it's honestly not even a debate. If you are curious what you should go for in the 40s, not counting 50 plus, what's the best ship? It's the Pilum. It ain't close. It's the Pilum. It ain't close. Whatever you want to call it. The Gladius with the big freaking fork spoon cut out the front of it. Doesn't matter what you call it, what it is. It is the number 1 ship in the 40s, and it's because of the firing pattern. Simple as that. Not only is it quick because it's an interceptor, but it'll hit you with 7 immediately strong shots right out of the gate, pulverizing almost any ship in the game. Even an Enterprise with its beautiful shield regeneration, a tier 1 Pilum and a max int at the same level, this thing's going to smack the ever-loving dog crap out of it. When I'm telling you there's a gap between the ships 1 through 3 and 4 through 10 in this list, there's a gap. And then there's another gap, and that gap is called the Pilum, and it's Pilum gap. Coronar, Newton, Gap, everything else. The Pilum reigns supreme, to the point that I would rather have a Pilum than a level 50 epic ship now that the 50s have come out. When the game was capped at level 50, hey, it made sense. Get you a Tribune, get you an Enterprise A, get you a Hegtah. But honestly, I don't need that. I just need a Pilum, and then I'll go to the uncommons at level 53. This thing is the end-all, be-all of ships. If I could construct a ship that I wanted to be the best ship, to where it's so perfect and so OP, I would make the Pilum and then give it the Enterprise's shield ability. I love the firing pattern. I'm obsessed with this ship, and I will be getting one, even if it's in 2022 or 2023. I don't know when, but I'm getting it. And it's the best warship in the 40s. And now you know, if you didn't know, because some of you were wondering. If you enjoyed this video, and you have questions about why I made the decision, or if you disagree, because, hey, everybody's opinions are valid. You come tell me why your Kelvin is secretly the best ship in the game. I'll disagree with you, and I'll argue with you with mechanics and stats and game material. But I'm still here for the conversation, and hopefully this helps you plan on where you want to go in the game as of how it stands right now. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button. It looks like this, and leave the comment in the comment box. See the comment box? Just leave your comments, baby. I want to have a great talk with you. Promise. We can get heated and have some fun, though. Deuces. That's me. Live long and prosper. Stay safe for the Space Cowboys. If you can't wait to see the next video, let me know down below, and we'll catch you on the next one. I'm outie.
I would like to request to Scopely to add more Klingons to the game. That is what I was told to do. And so I am doing it, which, you know, is not maybe the best thing as a leader to just do what you're told, but it seems like a good request to make to add more Klingons. Everything is better with Klingons, am I right? I am right, because I'm a Klingon. Klingon mach tach judge! We are Klingons, let it remain. All right. Laurel's on a roll today. She's very excited.